in two different directions. The first is that I started when I spoke about the difference between having a dance company and an arts organization. And the fact that I've chosen an arts organization means that I've developed a couple different programs that really advocate a bridge between artists and civic life, I call it. And that's something that's really important to me, and that position of advocacy really suits my personality, because I tend to have a little bit of a big mouth and I'm very outspoken, so it's where I sit pretty comfortably, and I love melding those worlds together. The other answer is actually the exact opposite. This spring I taught at my son's preschool, and I developed this 8-week curriculum for 3 to 5-year-olds where they made dances with music from each of the continents, and it was their first ever dance class. It was so pure and so luscious and so beautiful, and we did a performance. So I introduced these kids to their very first performance. And not only were the kids incredibly thrilled, the parents, who are like architects and, you know, regular people who I never meet as an artist ever, they were so moved by the art. Not just the fact that their little kid was, you know, going boo boo boo, but they were so moved by the art, and that meant everything to me. So I feel like I live on both sides of that.
For me, it's yeah, it's not the stage per se. The stage is basically the product of what I reflect. I feel that's what we do as artists anyway. But for me, day-to-day life, well, I moved to Sonoma about 4.5 years ago. It still straddles San Francisco and Sonoma. But my wife is a fluvial geomorphologist, which is an environmental scientist, basically. So therefore, she was an EPA before, and she wanted to be in a smaller valley to make a difference. And so to live in a place like a smaller community, you really see the politician that you voted for or you didn't vote for, and you still have to coexist. You still have to share the table with, you know, you still share a table with the people you grew up with, and that's an element that I do miss. Here, living in the city, larger community, but yet you don't share and sit down. And how often do we go to the marina and have a drink and talk to somebody there? You know, that's what I mean by that. For me, the difference in our approach in life and concept, for me, I just want to be able to participate in life and see and share my views and listen to their views and what have you. And that's where the dialogue comes in. And that's what I strive for. Just the daily life is much more important for me. So, but that's what I draw from too. I mean, tomorrow morning I'm going to be working with a bunch of Mexicans in a hotel. Just because I work 3 times, 4 times a week a year in this place, so I can have as a poor artist, where am I going to take my kids on a holiday? You know, I just have a employee discount somewhere. You know? Package tour, you know. To me, have 2 kids, they need to go to San Diego, okay, you know, so forth. So therefore, I try to live my life that way. And then I jump into my Armani suits and go sell cars, and I enjoy that for 3 weeks, and just to test out life, because I'm addicted to life. So that's the beauty of it.
Good answer. Who has another question?
Hi. I feel like your answer sort of led to my question, which is, if you're saying the personal is political, how do you deal with your personal life when you are doing something so consuming as this? And 2 of you have talked about children. You know, how you deal with lovers, children, family, balancing this work, which is obviously incredible to do. How have you negotiated that?
Sure. How do I negotiate that? And like today, I had time with my kids, went to pick them up, came here, took my set apart with them. They were participating in this. Went to Atlas Cafe. We did homework, and then we went to the community music center, took them to music class, and had dinner, and then dropped them off and came out here. That's my life. You know, to me, that's the part that's reality. This is the moment-to-moment experience, and that's where I draw from. And I can see some movement that happened with like this crack addict. Sometimes I sit in 22nd Bartlett. I've been noticing her for about how many years, but that movement is amazing with the hood. I've never seen her. I haven't seen her face in a couple of years now, but anyway. But it just amazes me to observe, to be the observer, and yet to truthfully reflect back without pointing the finger is important for me. You know? Just as an artist, we have the responsibility to just show the mirror without too much of our ego, because we're performers, and we're all egos, you know. And I have to check in on that, you know, all constantly. So therefore, how truthfully I can hold the mirror back to society.
Does anyone else want to talk about work-life balance?
I can probably just tell her it's my sister, so I can just tell her.
I was like, except for you.
I want to talk about it because I need to talk about it. I feel like my personal life is in a shambles. Sometimes I feel like when I think about my personal life, I think about that thing at the circus with the guy with the plates. And he has to have all the plates going, and if they fall, then it's really bad. And that's kind of how I feel about my life right now. And I'm really struggling with it. I just have to put it out there. I'm struggling at all. And the two struggles I'm having, one are how to stay, like the irony of art is like, you know, I love making stuff, and I'm obsessed. I'm a little bit obsessed actually with manifesting things and like, you know, writing and you know, having, I don't know. I like to do that a lot. But I'm not very disciplined. Like I'm not, probably the main reason I make group work is because that means I have to have a schedule. Like it means I have to show up at a certain time, and it means it's over at a certain time, right? And so then I'm usually too tired to work on anything else except the email thing. Although I heard this great phrase recently about email. Dana Casperson, dancer for Foresight, was like, you know, I don't know about email, because sometimes it's just like email, die. You know? And I thought that was the best expression of my relation to email. But I think it's really, the way one thing I just want to say about this is that the thing that I have noticed that happens and again, this is America, and this is a vestige maybe of modernism, where we like create, you know, cult heroes out of artists, or we need to, and we do that structurally, we do that administratively, we do that, you know, politically, you know, or like, you know, we have to create these like emblems of heroic figures, and so these people like, so then we have to believe it, right? We have to be that we are that important to deserve the thing, or to be invited to the there, to the blah blah blah. And I think one of the things that scares me about that is the inability to stay low to the ground, and to stay humble, and to listen. Like, because I think the only reason that I'm any good at anything that I do is because I'm good at listening. And I get really afraid of when I feel like the inevitable path of being an artist is like this rugged individual, like the lone, you know, person pulling him along, pulling everyone else along. Like, I don't know about that model. Like, I struggle. I guess I just want to say I struggle, because I also want to just kind of like be in the mix, you know? I mean, but I really hear what Leto's saying, because I have a ginormous ego. So, you know, this is a struggle. Yeah.
Other questions? Yeah.
Well, it's kind of interesting. I appreciate the fact that you want to keep everything more at a level, and you know, I think that's what I like about particularly modern dance, because I feel like people are more archetypal, and there's this something that's transcending. On the other hand, I think of when you were mentioning about someone being an icon or something like that, I think of John Lennon, and I feel like, you know, he was really important, and he did play a role. And I appreciate for who he is, and maybe he did disconnect too. You know, he's very much about his own feelings and his own perceptions and stuff. But also he had a nice big agenda too. So I don't know, I think there's room for both. That's what I'm wondering.
That sounded like a comment. Does anyone else have a comment or a question?